Join me in this podcast as I interview Olympic athlete and professional boxer David Nyika. After finding success on the amateur scene, Dave has become a household name in New Zealand. He has a long list of achievements, including gold at the 2014 and 2018 Commonwealth Games and bronze at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, where he was also a flag bearer for the Games. Dave has recently turned his sights to a pro career, training with the likes of Tyson Furry and Joseph Parker, with 4 fights and 4 wins under his belt so far. We talked to Dave about his journey as an athlete, the differences between amateur and pro boxing, and how his perceptions of training and nutrition have changed over time. He also shares how he uses Radix Freeze-dried meals, how they make meal prep easy, and what his plans are for the future.
Welcome everyone to Radix Nutrition's podcast, where we discuss all things health, performance and nutrition, from the design process behind our products to the amazing feats of the people who use them.
Dave, thank you very much for joining us.
No worries, man.
So, I'm curious how you actually got into boxing.
I think like my boxing kind of started probably with my brother. We used to fight a lot. He was 4 years older than me. Really supportive, really encouraging. Also tested me in a lot of ways. We always used to play fight and stuff. And my dad had he had a passion for all fight sports. Really, I don't think his dad let him fight when he was younger or like play any contact sports. So when I started showing like a bit of a taste for combat sports, both my brother and my dad were right behind it, and they were like close behind me as well. So
Awesome.
I started boxing. I found a boxing gym, Ringside Fitness. Ringside. It was in the phone book. Of all places. Yeah, remember the big, thick boy.
Things of the
thick
past
boy
now.
book. Yeah. So just found essentially the first combat gym in the phone book, and was there for about 7 years.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, my brother definitely kind of fueled that. We used to play fight. We used to. I really wanted to get into mixed martial arts. That was my initial plan. Was I was going to be a UFC fighter.
Okay.
Because I watched all the early UFC fight cards like on DVD with my dad.
Yep.
DVDs seem so old now. It's there are no United videos anymore.
So how old were you when you actually started going to the gym? And
It would have been 14. 14, I
wow.
joined the gym.
Right.
And then my dad was like, pretty much got a membership at the same time. And then my brother was about 6 months behind me because he was like, I'm clearly missing out on something. Because like we were all so, me and my dad were like right into it. We'd get up and do the early morning trainings. It just made a lot of sense. Hey,
yeah, that's pretty neat.
I think he was worried I was going to get bigger and stronger than him as well.
Oh yeah,
Which like
so you had to come along.
I'm about 7 inches taller than him now. I ate all his leftovers. You see.
Right, of course. I'm curious. You said that you wanted to get into like MMA and UFC. So where'd you sort of choose boxing over that? Where did that sort of change in your head?
Honestly just like a coincidence. Like I said, like it was the first combat gym I found in the phone book was a boxing gym. So we went to check it out. Had a chat with my previous coach, Rick Ellis. And he was encouraging, like knowing him later on, I was like, wow, that was a really positive experience because he was a hard man. And he didn't give anybody credit unless they really earned it. So I think I worked really hard for that kind of approval, not just from my coach, but from my parents. My brother, he was, like I said, super supportive. And he was proud of me. And there was something about that. If we were like play fighting with his friends, he'd say like, you should wrestle my brother, or you should have a fight with my brother. And it was all fun. Yeah. But it always pushed me to be good enough.
Does any part of you still want to get into MMA or UFC?
Why not, man?
Or anything?
Why
like
not?
That?
To be fair, that shit's terrifying. Like if someone kicked my shins, I would like pack a wobbly immediately. But I would definitely try it at some point. But it really comes down to whether it makes sense.
Because you do see a few of those fighters, or quite a few of them, start off in one discipline, right? And then they pick up the other stuff.
Yeah, Izzy only picked up the mixed martial arts I think more recently than people would realize. Like he was a kickboxer. He had like 85 pro fights or something stupid like that.
Yeah. I know people who used to watch him kickbox and just in Auckland, and used to go to his kickboxing fights, and they said that they saw it that early point, like this guy's the real deal?
I think the first time I might have seen him was we were doing the ring hire for an event in Rotorua, and I was like, I just saw some tall, skinny, dark guy like doing some crazy like back kicks and like doing all kinds of stuff, and I was like what's this guy's deal? And everyone was going crazy because he was just doing some outlandish stuff. Just the way he held himself, I was like, huh, that guy's like guys are really something, you know. But I didn't know him at the time and didn't meet him until might have been 2014, just after my first Commonwealth Games.
Okay.
I met him in a car park. We were just leaving one of Joseph Parker's fights, I think.
Yep.
We'd like me and my brother and a couple of mates had been at a corporate table, and he came stumbling out of the dark, and he'd lost his ride home.
Okay.
And he was like, "Hey, where are you guys going?" And we were like, we're heading back to Hamilton. And he was like, "Oh, do you think you could drop me off in town?"
Oh, really?
And we're like, "Oh, yeah, sure." Like where are you going? And he basically took us the complete wrong side of town. And it was like, ended up being like a whole thing, but it was real funny kind of. I got to know him then. He didn't know who I was. I didn't know who he was, but he had this air of like invincibility. Yep. And he's always had it. That was before he
still does, doesn't he?
That was before he did before he really made a splash on the international scene. Obviously he had done a lot, but he hadn't gained that same kind of profile that he has today. It's pretty cool, man. Like, he still had that swagger. He always knew he was going to be a big deal, and he let us know that. And I was like, this guy's a like if you didn't know him, you'd be like, this guy's talking some mad shit.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. But I knew he definitely he carried it. He carried it with him. So I was like, okay, like I see you.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cool, man.
So your Commonwealth Games, your first one, you were fairly young, weren't you?
I was 18, yeah.
Yeah.
18,
What was that
young
like?
18, man.
Had you done anything sort of on the big stage before, or was that huge for you? What was it like going along at 18?
Yeah, it's pretty weird. It was I barely made the team. It was my first year as an elite boxer, so open age boxer.
Yep.
It was the first year that I'd taken the headgear away, so we didn't wear the head protector.
Yeah.
And so it was a pretty big deal, and I ended up, my qualifying process was very different. I had to travel overseas with the women's team because the men's team were off doing their own qualifiers, and I was like fringing.
Right.
And I really wanted to go. That was part of my master plan, was to go to the Com Games when I was 18. So I committed to that. I won a medal I think I won a bronze at the first tournament, where my opposition, the guy that was in my spot, I think he also won a bronze. And then I went to another international tournament, which was in Albania. I went by myself. It was just myself and one coach, Cam Todd. And he was, it was pretty cool that he did that in hindsight. I was kind of like shocked that he had come over just by himself. But I won a gold at that tournament, which basically placed me above my opposition, and so I got the spot. But it was a whole thing. And so by the time I made it onto the team, nobody knew who I was. They were like, okay, it's a new kid on the block kind of thing. And my first appearance was at the Com Games. So
wow.
I had no expectations other than my own and my team's. But when you go into fights, you don't go in expecting to lose. Like, you want to go every time, you want to win, don't you?
Yeah. What's that like? Because you've got a team, but you're competing for spots.
Yeah.
What's the dynamic like there?
It's pretty odd. It's like there's a lot of politics involved as well, which shouldn't be involved, and I think that made it even a little bit harder. But it was fine. It was like everybody knows the score. We were supposed to have a box off for that spot, but it never ended up happening. So we took the long way around and basically took our own route, which worked out, luckily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the hardest part about boxing for you?
It's like pretty broad. Like for me, it's been a bit of a blessing because I've never been able to stick to any one thing for very long. Like, I've got kind of like so many interests, and I get excited. I'm a fire type, if you will. Like I get excited about things, but I also like when the flame goes out, I drop them and go on to the next thing. So
Right.
boxing for me was a really cool kind of way to express myself in terms of, just stepping out of your comfort zone, which is probably one of the hardest things. Stepping out of your comfort zone, working hard. The discipline is all difficult, but it's also a very it's an art where you can actually make the rules yourself. Like I'll be taught a certain way to box.
Yep.
At the end of the day, my imagination and my creativity is part of why I'm good at what I do. So I think the discipline is probably the hardest thing. Like every so often I'll be working on X, Y, or Z, and I go, you know what, this isn't working. I kind of want to go do something else or
Yep.
work on something else. But at the end of the day, you're not going to get the results if you don't put in that work and do the hard yards.
So it's not just getting punched in the face that's the hardest thing for you.
It's terrifying, man. Because like getting punched in the face after a while, like you're not trying to get punched in the face, but it's not that bad, man. I tell you, I'd rather get probably not, but like getting hit in the head, not as bad as getting hit in the liver or something.
Right.
Have you ever been hit in the liver? Your liver's on the right hand side
No.
of your rib cage. It's like somewhere in there. And if you're a heavy alcoholic, you're gonna know about it if you get touched there.
Yeah.
It's one of those spots. That's probably the worst place to get hit.
Right.
Obviously, like not considering like the damage it can do to your brain, but like
Yeah.
the body shots are pretty brutal.
That's a funny sort of thing, right? Like you're stepping in the ring and your sport is to do damage,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if you're not trying to do that, you're not going to do well.
Yeah.
But you've got a reputation for being such a lovely guy and such a nice guy. So I'm curious where you find the sort of the drive, I guess, or you see some fighters and they've got a screw loose and that's where they jump in the ring with anyone and they're willing to just smash them,
Yeah.
But where do you have much aggression in the ring? How do you motivate yourself to get in there when you're usually such a easygoing dude?
Like I think harnessing the aggression and like being able to use it to your advantage is like a massive key. I'm not like a confrontational person. I've never been in a street fight. I don't give anyone a reason to want to fight me or want to hurt me. So for me, it's been 100%. It's been a matter of expressing myself and like expressing myself in different ways. And it, like I said before, it challenges your comfort zone. Like you have to step out of it. Comfort's the enemy. Like in all things. Like as soon as you become more comfort, you become complacent. You become narcissistic. You become all kinds of bad adjectives because it's like all of a sudden you don't have any kind of challenges. Some of the people that I feel like are the most unhappy in this day and age are too comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like having those challenges and putting yourself in harm's way makes you alive, man. Makes you feel something. Like anyone that's that stepped in the ring knows and has been humbled, but they know that there's a lot at stake, and that's what makes people perform. That's what makes humans like want to survive. We're built for survival. If surviving's too easy, we've got no purpose.
So you're talking a lot about creativity, which is something that I personally didn't necessarily think about, this sort of idea of it being super creative, almost like an art, right? The way you're fighting, the way you express yourself. You've recently gone from amateur to pro.
Yeah.
Have you found that the pro scene has enabled you to do that side of things more?
100%. It's just like another outlet, if you will. Like professional boxing is like all of a sudden your job is to entertain. Amateur boxing, your job's to win, is to compete. But in professional boxing, people want to see knockouts. They want to see character. They want to see they want to see a story unfold, if you will. And like I haven't got a hell of a lot of trauma. I haven't got I've grown up with a loving family, but I've got a lot of character and I've got a lot of dreams, and I feel like if anything, I'm going to be able to show people what they're capable of, and through all my ring entrances, I'm going to have a different theme to not just excite the crowd, but to excite myself. I think my first professional bout was it was kind of a soft entry, but I had the Lion King as a theme. So Lion King, I grew up with it. I had my friends like design or like create a new track from the Lion King soundtrack, and then my buddy did some artwork. It's like I have this ability to kind of create a story, not just for everyone else, but for myself, and I like the idea of telling that story because I feel like they're just going to get more and more elaborate, and people are going to be like, "Wow, I can't wait to see what Dave does next." You know?
Yeah. I mean, you were
so
speaking
fun,
before your walkouts. I kind of didn't think about how much effort actually goes into sort of planning those, and also like your costumes. You said you worked with a designer, right? So it's a heck of a way to go about it.
Yeah.
It must really put some enjoyment into it, especially for you when you're not pulling from a lot of aggression or anything like that, when you're really just enjoying being creative, putting on a show. Is there anything else you've found different between amateur and pro?
There's a lot more difference than I thought there was initially. Like I just assumed, you're still trying to lay your fists on another guy's face and body. But I didn't quite realize like the difference between, say, the gloves, for example. The gloves aren't designed to protect anybody else. They're only designed to protect your hands. Obviously, there are different types of gloves that will offer a bit more protection, but pro gloves are brutal. Like you can get like off the gloves I wore 2 fights ago. I picked them up and I was like, these are kids' gloves.
Right.
Like these are for children. Yeah. And I was like, this isn't protecting anybody. And I like, more than anything, I worried about my hands because like I've been having hand issues. So it was like, this is gonna hurt.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. That's a big difference. Also, fighting for more rounds. More rounds, you realize that all of a sudden dehydration becomes a big risk. Concussive trauma becomes a big risk. And you won't really know what you're made of until you get into those deeper rounds. And I've had some really heavy sparring in the last 8 or 9 months, and I've kind of realized when I find myself in the trenches, I'm like, oh, this is a lot heavier than a 3x3 minute round fight, which is amateur style boxing. So, it's the fight game, it's the hurt game as opposed to competition. I've always thought of, like I said before, amateur boxing as competition, whereas professional boxing, it's a fight.
How much did your training have to change going from amateur to pro then? Because it sounds like it's almost a different sport, right? Which it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's like it was kind of subtle things if you hadn't been around boxing for very long, but it's like the way you land your punches. You're trying to turn your knuckle over to hurt the guy. It's the way you conserve energy over a 12-round fight is going to be very different to the way you behave over 3 rounds, because 3 rounds, you can just thrash around. It's 9 minutes compared to 36 minutes.
Do you have to do a lot more aerobic work?
That's kind of what I'm picking up on. Yeah, I'm going to have to go back to my base and just like do some grimy work. I think it's not going to be fun. But
I'm actually curious what your training looks like, because boxing, it's not like some sports where it's very specifically one
power
thing. Like it's
strength,
power, strength, speed. You have to agility. Yeah, I mean, and then all this creativity stuff as well, and skill. It's such a dynamic sport. So can you talk me through what your sort of normal trainings look like?
Yeah, well, like it kind of over the last 8 or 9 months, it's been different because I've been joining other people's camps. So I was in Tyson Fury's camp. I was in Joseph Parker's camp. I worked with 3 other cruiserweights while I was overseas. 4 other cruiserweights, 2 of them world champions. And they all train very differently. So what I'm realizing is that I have to design my fight camps around what works for me. And so moving forwards, I'm going to very much make my camps about what I need, as opposed to, tagging along with other fight camps, because obviously they're doing their thing. That's not what I've grown up with, or what I've been developing on. So there's definitely a big mix. I've been working with a strength and conditioning coach since the Com Games, since October 2014. So he was the one that helped me move up from light heavyweight to cruiserweight. Yeah, and that was was a big jump. So there was a big strength block involved there, and that weight never really sat properly until maybe a couple of years ago. So I'm only really filling into that division now, and I'm at a weight and a time in my development, like physical development, where all of a sudden I'm realizing, oh, I can do a lot more cardio now, and my weight isn't just going to fall off, because naturally I'm just like a skinny dude. And so like keeping that muscle on was really hard early on when I moved up. So yeah, I've got quite a handy mix, but there's also a fine line between, you know, overtraining certain parts. So for me, if I were to put it plainly, there'd be 3 runs, 3 boxing conditioning, 2 technical sessions, 2 to 3 strength sessions, and 2 sparring sessions. Like ideally, I'd have two big sparring sessions per week. But you've got to realize, like, putting weight through your hands, like over time, that's gonna like, you know, have a toll. It's a very high impact sport, which means, like for example, iron. A lot of boxers are deficient in iron because it's a high impact sport, and your iron sources get depleted through high impact sports. So obviously linking up with Radix Nutrition, knowing exactly what's going in and where it's coming from, and doing this whole tour has been like really eye-opening, and like getting to know how it's being sourced and how you can actually maximize your training around your nutrition. And of course they go hand in hand. Like you can't deny that, especially like when you're starting to, I feel like I'm at an age now where I'll know within 24 hours or 36 hours whether or not my nutrition the day before has impacted my the following day, if you know what I mean. So I feel like it's great timing to kind of start nailing that that part of my work. It's my work, my body, my nutrition, my training's my work.
So we really love working with you.
Thanks, man.
And we're really proud to say that we do. Can you talk us through what you use our products for, and why on the other end you've chosen to partner with us?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping I can use them a lot more. Like traveling overseas, and a lot of the, like, I've been away for exactly 9 months. I've come back for a month. I'll be going away again. Not sure when I'm going back. So it's like hopping around to different countries. You never know the nutritional value of what you're eating. You know, different countries have different standards of their products and whatnot. So even if it's like fresh produce, you don't know where it's come from. Like it could have been from any part of the globe. But knowing, especially like getting to know today exactly the processes that Radix Nutrition takes to make sure that their products are not only fresh but they're preserved in the best way possible. You know you're getting the maximum nutrition. So having these freeze-dried meals that are always ready to go. So I'll have them in my bag. I've been living out of a suitcase for 9 months. So if I'm in a pickle and I'm like, I've just trained, I've got nowhere to eat, like I could be in the middle of nowhere, I'm like, I've got Radix Nutrition, I've got a jug, I've got a kettle, that's all I need, you know what I mean? There's something about that is like really, really, really helpful, just because I don't it takes the thinking right out of eating, which I think is like so handy.
That's interesting. Like we use them in the same way. Like we make product that we think is really cool, and we wouldn't make it if we didn't think it was worthwhile. So it's neat to hear
you guys were all eating them in the office here as well. It's like, it's like you really believe in it.
So it's cool to hear that you use it sort of in the way it's intended.
It's funny really, though, because like what you guys do is you a lot of the people that use it, they're out hunting, or they're out adventure racing. For me, I'm like kind of adventure racing, only I'm doing it in the city, you know. I just don't know where I'm going to be. I don't know you know, when my next meal is going to be or how I'm going to get it, but it needs to be good. It needs to be good. So if I'm sparring with a world champion and we're doing like 8 rounds, immediately after I need to get like some form of like proper nutrition, whether it's one of the smoothies or whether it's one of the protein powders, it needs to go in ASAP. And so having that readily available and knowing that it's going to be quality, it's like quality assured. So
Awesome.
it's real handy. Oh, the other thing that I was like surprised by, and like was a real pleasant surprise, considering I was making weight. I was dropping weight for both my last fights, and it was a little bit harder than I anticipated. I've never really had to drop much weight for fights, and I was within about 800 grams of my fight weight the night before.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I'm hungry. I'm definitely hungry.
Yeah, of course.
And it was really cool because I was like, I know I drop about a kilo overnight, or I can drop a kilo overnight. Therefore, I can drink or eat 200 grams like before tomorrow, which is like a big deal in terms of, like getting nutrition in while you're dropping weight. Like I've already dropped 5 kilos. So I had like a square meal, a really good quality meal, because I know exactly how much they weigh. It's got on the packet, might be 120 grams. You put 125 milliliters of water in there, you've got 250 grams right in front of you, and it's like it's a perfect meal.
That's one application we think is really cool, is this idea of weight cutting, and whether you're just trying to be healthier, you're losing weight, or like you, whether you're doing it for an actual event where you're forced to lose weight. You have to do that by restricting the amount of food you eat, right?
Oh, 100%.
So if we can make a meal that's super nutrient dense and you're actually getting a huge amount of nutrients for the amount of calories, then that kind of takes the risk out of running nutrient deficient, because like you said, if you're cutting out a bunch of food, you're cutting out a bunch of nutrients. So for you, having a small amount of weight, small amount of calories while you're cutting that weight, you can still get heaps of nutrients to help you recover, right?
That's it.
So that's it's really cool that you use it in that way.
It was just one of those things that I didn't really expect either, because I was like, my whole kind of understanding of the way, or like why it was designed was for bushmen, and I'm like, I'm not a bushman. I'd love to be a bushman. I'd love, like, one day I'm gonna like retire in the middle of like the woods or something. But my kind of perception of the brand was, was for people that were outdoorsy, and I was like, I'm outdoorsy, but not that outdoorsy. And so finding like specific and unique uses for the meals was like, I feel like I'd figured something out,
It's a common thing that happens because it's freeze-dried. And as we've sort of shown you today, we freeze-dry it for nutritional value, because everything we do is trying to make the best food and the most nutritious food. And whether that's for an athlete or general health, that's why we do it. But the freeze-dried realm is currently dominated by outdoors brands, because that's all you have access to when you're out, and all you've got is a cooker and some water. You kind of have to go freeze-dried. So it's not that we're not great for that use. Obviously, if you're taking our food outdoors, it's great there too. And a lot of people have sort of done that because it's freeze-dried. And that's where some people sort of miss the whole point, and they think, it's outdoors food. It's actually, that's not what we set out to do with freeze-dried food. We're just making food that's convenient, that you probably can't put together even if you tried in a kitchen, right? So it's
designed for the zombie apocalypse, I'm telling you. Like, when the world goes under, I'm going to make sure I have a big, like a rucksack full of, like a whole suitcase full of freeze-dried, full of Radix meals. Because it's honestly, it's like, I could easily eat the meals all day, every day. And it's like one of those things, obviously you wouldn't want to, because sometimes it's nice to have like a big bowl of like pasta or something. But at the end of the day, it's got everything you need. And like, I couldn't believe the, how anal you guys are about exactly making it like the best possible. Like even the process of getting sterile before we went into the factory was like what do you mean? Like, do I have to wear the hen? Like, am I really like? I thought I was like a guest, I'm like, okay, I've got to suit up, and everybody gets clean. Like you have to like take your buckle off and everything for the camera and stuff. It's just like a knowing the exact processes of the freeze drying and exactly why they do it. And it's essentially all of it is based around making sure that the food and the products are as as high quality and as like preserved as they can be. So by the time you get them, they've got the exact right amount of macros and micronutrients.
Yeah, well, I'm glad
Wild,
we can communicate that with you.
You guys all freak me out, eh?
Yeah, well, it actually makes it really, really difficult because no one's telling us to do it that way, and no one's telling us to set all these standards for ourselves.
And someone like me wouldn't appreciate that unless you know. And so I guess this is all about like building that that knowledge for not just for like athletes, but for people in general. Like I think people need to understand, and I understand a lot better now, having been through and understanding. I'm like, oh, like we've got a bunch of mad scientists here. I get it now. I get it.
Yeah, we absolutely take that as a compliment.
It's an obsession. Yeah, I can tell. Yeah. Mike's hard case.
Yeah,
he's like he. I could tell. I could see in his eyes. He was so excited. Yeah, it's a passion, and it's a healthy obsession. Like he really wants to create the best product, and I think you guys have pretty much nailed it. Like, convinced me anyway.
Yeah, well, we're very happy with our current product, but we're also always looking to improve, and that's why we have our versions. So right now we talk about version 8. There will eventually be a version 9, because we're constantly looking to improve. So we won't have a product that we go, yep, that's it, that's done. We always believe we can do more.
Yeah.
So even if we discover a new type of nutrient that we think is essential for the body, we'll start to look at, well, how can we get that in our meals then? Because we want this. Yeah. And it presents a few challenges, because sometimes you might get an ingredient that's super awesome for something in the body. It might be an antioxidant for recovery. And it might turn our meals a really funny colour. Or it might, it might cost a bit more. And so there's all these challenges that we run into, but we work really hard to get around them.
Yeah. I'm not getting any younger, turning 27 this weekend. It's like I'm becoming more and more aware of, how my body's responding to the food. And like, I'd love to look at getting into fasting or trying like a different diet. But at the same time, the nutritionists I've been working with over the past like 10 years, they've always kind of said, if it's not broke, don't fix it, because my energy levels have always been good. My weight's been good. I'm naturally very lean, so it's not too much. It hasn't been too much of an issue, but now I feel like I've kind of hit a bit of a wall, and I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to notice like, I've never had sore knees in the morning, but I realized, I was like, okay, you ran 15 Ks last night. That's the way you're going to feel the next day. So making sure like the type of food they're having. What's good for inflammation? Real quick.
Inflammation, it's a bit of a funny one, because it can come from different sort of places. But it's a lot of the time you'll find it's like the really stereotypical foods that are deemed healthy for you end up being the ones that are great for bringing down inflammation, like your fruits and vegetables. And it's always the ones that are deemed as superfoods. Like there's a reason that's the case, right?
Blueberries.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Spinach.
Yeah, exactly. You're on it.
Give me another one.
Yeah, kiwi fruit.
Kiwi fruit.
Things like that.
I can't do kiwi fruit, eh?
You don't like it?
I'm pretty fussy, Like, I'm not a fruit guy. I'm a veggie guy.
Right.
Which is like easy, because like you guys pretty much put like a million veggies and all your things. You wouldn't even know either. Yeah. Hey, you put that baobab fruit in there. Didn't have a clue, Yeah. But I'm getting iodine from it. Was it?
No, the iodine's from seaweed. It's a type of kelp. Yeah. So that's something we're looking at.
So I've been eating seaweed as well.
Not yet.
Badass.
We're about to incorporate that. Yeah. So that's one thing that we're looking into. As I said, we sort of always look to improve. And iodine's one thing that we wanted to improve.
Gotcha.
And so that's where we went and we're like, what's a good source of iodine? And we found the seaweed that's like crazy high in it. So you only have to put a tiny little amount. It's incredible.
I couldn't believe so I ate some of that spirulina powder. I had no idea spirulina tasted like that.
Yeah.
It was like really strong. It was like kind of bitter, and then it was like almost fishy. Almost like like very much like it tasted like it came from the ocean, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well
whoa.
It's like a type of microorganism.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
obviously I've had it in the smoothies and you barely taste it,
Yeah.
but you're getting all the nutrients from it. I was like, sick.
Mm.
Yeah, I can do that. I don't even, I don't like banana. Don't like banana at all.
Oh, really?
I hate banana. And the only source I can get my banana in is the smoothies.
Right.
And so I'm like, for me, it's like great because like I can barely taste it kind of thing. And it's not even so much the flavor; it's the texture of banana.
Okay.
And so like getting it in there, I was like, oh, that's badass.
Yeah.
And it's like a great source of potassium, right?
Mm.
It's got like I feel like that's a superfood, right? In a
Banana.
lot of ways, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I've never been able to eat it,
Right.
so I was like, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
Cool. Hey, before we wrap up,
Yeah.
can you talk us through what's on your horizon? What are your goals? What's your future looking like for you?
I've got a pretty exciting rest of the year. I'll probably be based in Australia, just outside of Brisbane, for the foreseeable future. But obviously, it's a lot closer to home than the UK. So I'm excited to be moving over there. And of course, you guys have got I think your biggest market is in Australia as well. So I'm going to be easily able to get my hands on plenty of nutritious food. But I'm looking at, there are 2 fights that I'd like to line up before the end of the year, as long as my body plays ball, and hopefully some very exciting news in the near future. I'd like to talk more about it, but I think I've already told you guys about it as well. So
Awesome.
I'm really excited, but it's
Something
going to be
to
an
look forward
awesome.
to.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome end to 2022, and I can't wait to come home and be fighting in front of my home fans as well.
Awesome. Yeah, well, Dave, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Cheers.
friend. That was awesome.